Celebrity chef Alton Brown is famous for his unique perspective on food. As a host of Good Eats, he offers viewers a heaping helping of common sense cooking, served up with a lighthearted blend of wit, wisdom, and a sprinkling of science. He even has a book called I'm Just Here for the Food. Alton joins us this morning with an unusual take on tasty treats. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I feel very welcomed.
Good. Alton, so you've said that you trace your love of cooking back to your childhood, where you cooked in the kitchen alongside your mom and your grandma. Did they teach you much of what you teach others right now?
No, that's all pretty much a lie made up by PR people. I learned how to cook in college to get girls.
And speaking of cooking, I understand that you write and produce Good Eats, so talk to us about that.
Well, I do write Good Eats, and I direct Good Eats, and I host it mostly because I can't find other people to do it for the amount of money I'm willing to give them. So I kind of get stuck with those jobs, but they're good jobs, so I don't mind doing them that much.
So what culinary tricks do you have up your sleeve regarding cooking for someone you love?
This model is of my secret ingredient to candy making. It is, of course, salt. Sodium chloride, good old sodium chloride. This is a very interesting molecule because when sodium and chloride ions move around in your mouth, they can actually change the electrical responses around your taste buds so that different flavors are kind of turned up volume-wise while others are turned down. And that's a big deal with candy making because a lot of people are turned off by candy because it's so sweet. But of course, candy is actually defined by sugar. You can't get rid of it. But by using salt artfully, you can actually control those flavors a little bit. The trick is in using the right kind of salt, which is something that kind of confuses a lot of Americans still.
Hold on a second, but isn't salt just salt?
A lot of folks still use what I just call table salt, iodinized salt, shaker salt, which comes in, if you look at it under a microscope, you see these little bitty cubes like this, very small, very uniform. And because they're uniform, they have some interesting characteristics that are not very good for cooking. One, they're very hard to pinch and sprinkle because they just fall through your fingers. They don't stick to food very well at all. And because they're uniform, they dissolve at the same rate, creating a harsh taste. And because they're so small, they tend to clump together, and that means you have to have anti-clumping chemicals packed with them to keep them working for you. And I don't like any of those attributes. I have long been a proponent of kosher salt. Koshering salt, of course, comes out of the tradition of koshering meat by putting salt on the outside of meat to draw out blood. It's a very old process. And the salt that was used, well, it's like this. It's very, very flaky and very sticky. You see my fingers, you can see I got the salt stuck all over them.
Hold on, wait a minute. I thought kosher salt was usually used for cooking savory meals instead of making dessert.
Well, it certainly is used in savory, but I actually use it exclusively. It's the only salt that I use. And I've got a little explanation here for why. My favorite, which is made by Diamond Crystal, when they make their kosher salt, they boil the brine, or the saturated salt solution. Now, the interesting thing is, after they make this, they're broken apart into pieces, right? And these pieces are very jagged, as you can see, and that's good for food because it will stick to food.
Great explanation, but tell me more about the recipes you're sharing with our viewers today.
I've laid out here some kind of salt-centric candies that I make at home. One of my daughter's favorites, lemon drops, that actually have salt on the outside of them mixed with sugar to bring up the lemon flavor. I've got candied apples, some nut brittle with salt, caramels. I've got a favorite recipe of mine is actually for a cocktail that's chocolatey and sweet. And to cut down the sweetness, I rim the glass in a mixture of kosher salt and cocoa powder. And all of those flavors work together to make a very nice whole. But my very favorite one is a trick that I do at home also with Malamar cookies. I don't know if you're old enough to remember Malamars. It's a marshmallow cookie with chocolate on the outside and cookie underneath. But I find them really sweet and kind of dull now that I'm an adult. So what I do is I crank up the old blowtorch, and you've probably got one of these in your kitchen, I imagine, and I just barely glaze over the top of the cookies till they're just shiny. It only takes a few seconds, and just sprinkle on the kosher salt. And of course it's very pinchable, so it's easy to sprinkle like that. Just give it a dusting like light snow cover. You let that sit and cool for about 3 minutes, and you've got a completely new cookie.
Wow, yeah.
I'm a big fan of using ingredients for the right reason and in the right amounts in the right form. And I certainly find that kosher salt and sweets get along very well together.
Okay, so let's switch gears now. As you know, our show is called The Balancing Act. What do you do personally to balance everything between home, work, lifestyle, and financial matters?
Well, first off, I don't know anything about my financial matters. My wife takes care of all the money. I get an allowance. I don't know where the bank is. I don't know where the checkbook is.
Like
That's how I balance that. Work and home stay balanced by the fact that, well, my wife and I also run a company together, so we're together during the day and at night. We have a 9-year-old daughter that keeps us prioritized properly. But you know what? We don't flinch away from life. I think we pack enough chaos into every single day to, at the end of the day, say, "Wow, I'm done. I'm done living. Let's go to sleep," which is about all the balance that I can stand.
So thanks for sharing your personal life with us and for showing us how to spin new life into ordinary ingredients.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on.
If you want these tasty recipes, just go to thebalancing act.com/diamond.